and welcome to the Area 1 4-H Volunteer Lunch and Learn series. My name is Elisabeth Eaton, and I am the 4-H educator in Bartholomew County. I'm joined today by Liz Beyersdorfer, who is the 4-H Youth Development Extension Educator in Dearborn County. And today we're going to talk with you about using Zoom and online recreation activities as you work with your 4-H clubs. So one of the reasons, obviously, that we're talking about virtual meetings is the past year we have been in this kind of limbo with what do we do with 4-H clubs in light of the pandemic. And so virtual meetings are an awesome opportunity for you to engage with your 4-H club members when face-to-face meetings aren't possible, or even when they're just not maybe the best option. And so some best practices for virtual meetings are, as you start having your virtual meetings, you want to talk about the equipment. You want to inform your 4-H club members about what equipment they will need. And so when doing a virtual meeting, it is important to make sure that the equipment that the youth are using and that you're using have microphones and cameras. And so many laptops today come with those items. However, if they don't, if you have a laptop or a computer that doesn't have a microphone or a camera, smartphones or tablets are great options as well to use. A little bit harder to see the participants just because the screens are smaller, but they do have awesome microphones and camera capabilities for you. And it's also important to note that maybe if you don't have the microphone, you can call in as well as watch. So you can be on the computer leading the meeting while also connecting via a phone. And a second best practice would be to send an agenda ahead of your meeting time so that your youth can see what's going to be discussed, what items are up for maybe a vote. And this allows for ideas to be formulated ahead of time. I've noticed that as we've had lots of virtual meetings, it seems harder to kind of process what is happening in a meeting. And I think this is true for our youth as well. And so sending that agenda ahead of time allows for idea formulation to happen, and so that they can come to the meeting with ideas of the items that are going to be discussed at those meetings. As you start your virtual meetings, you're going to want to explain online meeting etiquette. And so you're going to want to show your youth how to mute themselves. And I will show you that here in a little bit. You're going to want to show them how to use their cameras. You're going to want to do that so that background noise and distractions are eliminated from the meeting. And this is a great opportunity for you to set some ground rules with your 4-H club, standard operating procedures, if you will, of how you want your 4-H meetings to be done online. And so maybe it's that you have the expectation that everyone will have their camera on during the meeting so that you can see everyone's faces and read those facial cues. Maybe you want them to raise their hand prior to talking. And so having that opportunity to set those ground rules will allow for your meetings to go a little more smoothly in this different format. The next thing would be to provide a way for some visuals. And so we talked about sending the agenda out ahead of time. You can also share your screen to have the agenda be put up while you're going through the meeting. Another option would be to consult with your youth. Our youth are very technology savvy, much more savvy than we are. And so they have great ideas on some best practices. So maybe asking them, should we set up a Google, a place in Google for Google Docs or Google Slides to store our agendas and other meeting materials so that everyone has access to those items, since they won't be there in person to pick up items. And so, like I said, consult with your youth, use your youth's experiences to help make your life easier as a 4-H leader. And then the last kind of best practice would be to allow for the opportunity for conversation and to start with an icebreaker. So I know that it is really hard when no one is talking. You ask a question and it's just crickets, silence. And it's so hard to let that space be there, that quiet space for people to formulate those ideas and get the courage to say something. But you have to allow that, that moment. And as uncomfortable as it is for you as the person leading, eventually someone will say something. But a great way to get our youth and even our adults kind of calm and just break that ice is to start with an icebreaker. And so there are many ideas out there. I know that Liz is going to share some ideas about online recreation, but there are a ton of ideas on different icebreakers that you can do. And many of the icebreakers that you might have done in person can also be done virtually. So when you're going to start using a virtual platform, you have to find the one that is best for you. And so today I'm going to talk a little bit about Zoom. That's the platform that we are using for this recording. And it is also probably the one that I would say is best known at this point for having virtual meetings or get-togethers or gatherings. And so that's what we're going to talk about. So Zoom offers many various plans with options. And so, of course, some of them have a cost, but I'm going to talk about the basic plan, which is free for everyone. And so the basic plan allows you to host up to 100 participants, and you can meet for up to 40 minutes. So that is probably one of the drawbacks. Is that 40-minute time limit, but they do allow you to have also the option to have unlimited one-on-one meetings. So if you want to schedule a meeting with one of your 4-H members to maybe discuss one of their projects, you can do that via Zoom. Like I said, there are other plans. And one of the things I would suggest is if you know that you need to go beyond that 40 minutes. You contact your local extension educator, your 4-H youth development extension educator in your county, and ask them if they can help you get the meeting set up using their Zoom account. So all of us have Zoom accounts. All the offices in Indiana have Zoom accounts. And so assuming that there aren't scheduling conflicts, that is probably something that they are more than willing to help you with if you ask. Some other tips for when you're meeting via Zoom. There are what's called Zoom bombers, and so you want to avoid that. And so your Zoom links should never be shared publicly. You do not want to post your Zoom link on social media because that invites anyone to come to your Zoom meeting. Whereas obviously we want everyone to participate in 4-H, but there are people out there that probably shouldn't be attending our 4-H club meetings. And so the best way to share your link for your Zoom is to share it either via email or text, or even private chat. You, again, don't want to post that publicly for that reason. When you're setting up your Zoom, you have the you have lots of different controls that you can put into place. And one of those would be to allow for the group chat to be used, but disable the private chat. And so I'll show you here in just a second what I mean by that. But you don't want to allow for there to be private conversations going on during the meeting. And so you need to turn that private chat off. And then the other thing that you would want to set up when you're setting up your meeting is the option to mute all the participants upon entry. You will find once you've done a couple of these that if you set it up that way, it's much easier than having to go through and mute everybody that forgets to mute themselves. So I'm going to actually stop sharing my PowerPoint for a moment because I want to walk you through some of these controls that you can see on a Zoom screen. All right, to show you some of the features that are available to use in Zoom meetings that will help your meeting run more smoothly, want to share with you a couple of those today. And so the first one would be teaching the youth how to mute themselves. And so if you ask them to kind of move their mouse over the screen, they should get a black bar at the bottom similar to this. And over at the very left-hand corner, you can see the mute button. And so you would just click on that once to be muted. And then unclick on that when they have something to say or want to be muted. Then another place that can be done by the host is if you go into the chat. And in the chat feature, another place that can be done is in the participants. So if you go to the participants, and today I'm the only one on here, but normally there would be a list of everybody that is on your call. You would hover over the individual person and you would click mute or unmute, and that would work for that particular person. When it comes to renaming participants, it's a good idea to have the youth put their first name and last name if that's what you wish. If you have siblings that are attending, I would encourage you to have them list all of the siblings in that box. And so you would go to they could go in under the participants, click on the more, and they could click rename, or you can actually do that for each participant as well. So I'm going to change mine to just Elisabeth. I'm going to click OK. Now that has changed my name to Elisabeth there, and has also changed it to Elisabeth here in the bottom corner. If you want to share your screen, you would click on the share screen button here at the bottom. It would bring up a screen like this. You would choose which screen you want to share, and so maybe you want to share the internet Google search site, and so you would click on that. If you're wanting to share a video, you would definitely want to click on these two buttons at the bottom, because that's how the sound will be cast through your screen, and then you would click on the blue share button, and then that would come up. I'm going to hit stop sharing now, so that goes away. And another great feature that's fun to use with youth is the reaction button down here at the bottom. So sometimes you might be maybe making a decision or you're celebrating a kid. And so using these reactions are a lot of fun because the kids can pick different things that then show up on their pictures. So if you click on that button, this one, the ta-da one, is a lot of fun to celebrate something that's happened, and so that comes up over in the left-hand corner. Or if you're wanting to vote on something, you could have your youth click on thumbs up if they're okay with it, or a heart if they love it, or however you want to do it. So it's a lot of fun to use those, and those go up on your picture, and they stay there for a few seconds, and then they actually disappear on their own. So you don't have to reset them or take them down. Those all stay there. So hopefully those tips will help you learn how to maximize your usage of Zoom in your 4-H club meetings.